might not be the clearest, but basically that 5/4 riff, so from the second intro riff, that's playing over the top of this weird rhythm. And they don't line up. It takes multiple like bar repetitions for them to line up. So the reason why I did this is because this one's kind of lo-fi in the background. And it's really, I don't know if it's like psychoacoustic or just the way your brain kind of processes rhythms. But basically, because it's so lo-fi in the background, you notice it early on. So you notice the riff early on. But as it becomes more jumbled in terms of rhythm, it just starts sounding like background noise. I think I did some slight volume automation on it as well. But generally speaking, that's kind of like a little songwriting trick I used, plus production trick. And basically, because it's in the back and it falls off rhythm, it sounds like it fades into noise, but it's still playing that same riff. So it kind of teases the brain into hearing the same thing but different. So that's another way to get some cool mileage out of music. Oh yeah, another thing I forgot to include is I did some kind of like brass signals. And we'll hear that in the next section. These are just bits of brass. And again, in the intro, I forgot to mention this, but it's just some like stretched and pitch shifted brass risers to get that sound in. That's a really nice method of ambience, by the way. If you just pitch shift brass instruments and kind of run them through reverb. So yeah, so we got the weird polymeter section out of the way with that really vowel-like bass. So that's the memorable bit. Just kick, bits of rhythm, and you'll hear the bits in between coming up from the Doomery. So that's just the Echo Cat kind of emulation kicking in. So what do you do after you hit them with a ridiculous polymeter? You asked me. So maybe you should bring them back to some familiarity so it kicks hard. Or maybe you throw them into even more rhythmic chaos and then hit them with something even more familiar, being 4/4, so that that 4/4 section, the metal section actually, hits even harder. And that's basically the philosophy I was thinking when I wrote this bit. So yeah, that's essentially kind of a 7/4 rhythm. And it's got kind of like a jolly, like, jumping between stuff kind of swing to it. It's not an actual swing. Sorry. Not an actual rhythmic swing, but you know what I mean. Like, in terms of groove, it feels very classical. In a lot of ways. It's probably some of the Hungarian classical music that probably influences me, or a lot of the kind of like Eastern Russian stuff I like to listen to. But it kicks in like that. And it kind of feels like grandiose and theme-like to the point where like it just fits the song perfectly. So if you notice on the Spawn of Cthuba video, I wrote like a whole short story of lore for this character, just because, you know, creative itch mainly. But basically in that thing, I detailed how the audience would kind of play like creative music, but like different music in a way. So like music that hasn't really been heard in the kind of like Tuba Warriors lore sense, but generally speaking, like it creates this kind of like thematic layer of something that's kind of alien. And to a lot of people who listen to a lot of modern music, when they hear odd time signatures for the first time, it's completely alien to them. But bringing that in with like kind of like the classical theme element, and then later on with these like weird like pitch shifted brass risers, and then this like really vowel like bass thing which I kick in kind of even harder, it feels so like alien that when the familiarity, which is basically, you know, the Doom style riff kicks in, which is, you know, it's Argent metal, that's what everybody knows and loves. When that kind of kicks in, that's when you get the thematic release. And this isn't just production. This isn't just like music writing, more music writing actually than anything else. But it's not even just like instrumentation. This is on the pure like thematic release level. People are thrown into this element of kind of like alien chaos, and then they are hit immediately with that thing they knowingly love and are familiar with, and that kind of creates that contrast, and why I think that this song kind of serves its purpose to a good amount. In terms of like textbook songs I've written, a lot of like trying to achieve a goal when composing, this is like probably my favorite. And hence why I called it a prototype for some later works, because on the thematic level, I think it really, I think I'd executed that well. Obviously trying not to like self-boast too much, but even with like kind of trying to deliver self-criticism and the bounds I compose within, thematically speaking, this part was like, I don't know, I just kind of had something click in my brain, and I think that he executes that well. So yeah. Again with the metal choir coming back in. That kind of brass coming in. The really weird bass. And then metal. Damn, there's the bend's always good. I bended that string a lot, which is kind of funny. So yeah.